Hello everyone and welcome back. Today we are going to be doing a deck tech for Rowan Scion of War. Rowan is a 3-mana 4/2 with a menace that says tap spells you cast this turn that are black and or red cost X less to cast, where X is the amount of life lost this turn, and we can only do it as a sorcery, so this is some Rakdos self-destruction. Shameless self-plug, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and comment what deck you want me to do next. Anyways, why play Rowan? Because Rowan has a cool ability that makes the negative effects of cards that we have actually good for us. So the cards that say, oh, draw a card and draw 2 cards and lose 2 life, like losing 2 life actually helps us out, and we get the cards out of it anyway. It makes our really expensive cards dirt cheap because we can just, again, pay 5 life to whatever we want, and now all our spells cost 5 less. Looks good to me. And then we got pretty much an interesting play style. It's just you're destroying yourself just to kind of profit in the end and see if we can take our opponents down with us. And it's nice that it's an all or nothing kind of game plan, because it makes games go fast. We're either going to win quick or we're going to lose quick. So the game plan, we do need her to win. Ideally, we got to play her as soon as possible. So during our turn, we're going to drain our own life just through random spells and effects, and then we are going to share our suffering with our opponents through big X spells and big damage and big boys. Vulnerabilities we have. Rowan dying, straight up, deck doesn't work without her. It's really bad without her. Opponents gaining life is a big issue, just because we only have so many chances to really hit them big, so when we can, we got to make it matter. And then with some stacks effects. So Lavinia is a great example, because Lavinia just says each opponent can't cast non-creature spells with converted mana cost greater than the number of lands we have. Our whole deck is about cost reduction, so stacks effects like that really hurt us. Going into creatures, we have Archfiend of Despair. I'm not really even going to look at the mana costs, because it's always going to be cheaper than they are. Like, we're always going to just pay like a ton of life. We'll lose like 6 life just so Archfiend costs 2. That's how I'm pretty much going to look at all of these. So we essentially have a 2-mana 6/6 that make our opponent not be able to gain life. And then at the beginning of each end step, each opponent loses life equal to the life that player lost this turn. So it's kind of wound reflections on a guy. So if we hit someone for like 15, they're going to lose another 15 just because Archfiend's on the field. We have Blood Artist. So this is also a pseudo life gain deck, and it kind of has to be, because we only have so much life, and we need to be able to gain life back up whenever we can with Rowan. So whenever it or another creature dies, not just our creature, any creature, someone's going to lose a life and we're going to gain a life. Then we have Blood Celebrant. Blood Celebrant is weird. It's pay a black, pay 1 life, add 1 mana of any color to our mana pool. The way we look at Blood Celebrant basically just says pay a life, like net nothing. Just like pay a black, you're always going to get that black mana back. It's just net nothing. It's so we can say, if we have Archfiend in our hand, we can say, yeah, I think we're going to pay 6 life and just keep putting that 1 mana of any color back into Blood Celebrant. So we're just going to keep getting black mana out of that. And we just lost 10 life, so now Archfiend now costs 10 less. That's kind of the game plan. Defiler of Flesh. Defiler of Flesh and Instinct are both here basically to make our permanents cost 1 less. And not only are they going to cost 1 less, they're going to cost 2 more life to cast, which is a pretty big deal, considering we have a good amount of permanents, and not only the colors being 1 cheat, because that's the biggest issue in the deck, is too many, like the double black's really going to hurt us. It's a lot harder to cast because we only have so many colors, but like Rowan makes it so colorless doesn't matter. Anyway, Defiler of Flesh, again, reduces black. Defiler of Instinct reduces red. Whenever you cast a black spell, target creature gets menace and +1/+1. Cool, doesn't really matter. And then whenever you cast a red permanent spell, deals 1 damage to any target, which is pretty good because we can start shooting down things. Doom Whisperer is an all-star. He's a 6/6 with Flying Trample, pay 2 life, Surveil 2, so we can get a bunch of life out of him and really set up our card advantage with him. Next, we have Erebos Bleak Hearted. I like Erebos because he says whenever another creature you control dies, we can pay 2 life and then draw a card out of it. Again, we kind of want to lose the life anyways, and at least helps us with our creatures dying. Plus, he's indestructible sometimes. And then we can sacrifice another creature to give another creature -2/-1. I like the idea of him. I'm kind of curious how he would play out. Erebos, God of the Dead is the way better Erebos. Straight up, opponents can't gain life, and then we can pay 2 mana and pay 2 life to draw a card. So, stops our opponents from gaining life. We are able to pay our own life, and we draw. Very good. Heartless Hitsugo is a crazy awesome card. He taps and deals damage to each player equal to half that player's life total rounded down. We have funny shenanigans with him. Like, we have a Whip of Erebos that's going to give him lifelink, so really we don't lose anything. And our opponent lose everything. And even Archfiend, him and Archfiend is like a kill combo, because they'll lose their life rounded down, and then they'll lose half their life rounded down again. It's funny. Kirik, Son of Yawgmoth, is a 4-mana... He's basically free, actually. I mean, we lose 6 life to cast him, which is great for a 2/2 with lifelink, which is great. And he makes all black mana pips in our decks Phyrexian costed. So he's basically just Defiler of Flesh? I think he's just that way better. Plus he's lifelink, which is fine. And he's essentially free, because again, we're just going to pay 6 mana into him. And then the 4 from Rowan's going to be free. Runescarred Demon is a flying 6/6. When it enters the battlefield, search our library for a card, put it in our hand. We run him because he's just a hard tutor. He basically costs 2 mana. He's a big scary flyer with evasion, and he's just going to tutor up whatever we need. Sangromancer, flying 3/3. Whenever a creature an opponent controls dies, we may gain 3 life. Guess what? We will. Whenever an opponent discards a card, you may gain 3 life, and we will. Sangromancer is a fantastic card, but I think it's worth saying that Rakdos doesn't have a ton of life gain options, so you're going to see some like less than ideal life gain cards, but they're like needed. Sheolder to the Apocalypse is one of like the best cards in the deck, I think. Just 4 mana, 4/5 with Death Touch, great rate. Whenever we draw a card, gain a life. We have a good amount of card draw, and then whenever an opponent draws a card, they lose 2 life. So it's just kind of what we want to do all around anyway. Soul Drinker is a 4 mana, really just a 1 mana 2/2 that says pay 3 life, put a 1/1 counter on them. We can just start bolting ourselves for free whenever we want. We can like, that's the nice thing about Soul Drinker, is we can just be like, yeah, we're gonna pay like 30 life, and now all our spells cost 30 less, and our big X spells cost 30 less. And he says don't drink and thrive, which is pretty cool. Next we have Stormkiln Artist. We have a hefty amount of instants and sorceries in the deck. Him being +1/+0 doesn't matter. It's just whenever we cast an instant or sorcery, make a treasure. The big thing again about our deck, it's not really the high cost of spells, it's the color pips in the spells, and that Storm Artist basically just gets rid of the pips in the spells. Street Wraith, we're straight up really only running Street Wraith as a redraw. We can play it as a guy sometimes, maybe, but it just makes more sense to essentially have 1 less card in the deck that we can then pay 2 life to lose our own life, have our spells cost 2 less, and then just refill it. It's nice to be able to just chuck away when Rowan's on the field, because like a lot of the things cost us to either pay mana to lose life or like some ability, and Street Wraith can just do it whenever we need to from our hand. Treasonous Ogre is pretty much, him and Rowan are the reason I put this deck together, because Treasonous Ogre, it's like literally everything Rowan wants. Pay 3 life, you lose life, add a red mana, and you get mana at it. It's just, so, and he's got the throne for some reason, which is great. We have Villas. Villas is great just because he says whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Yeah, we could like, and we could also pay a black and 2 life to then give a creature -1/-1, which really, since we pay 2 life anyway out of that, we're going to draw 2 cards out of it. So it's really cool. I like Villas a lot. Going into sorceries, we have Agadeem's Awakening. Black, 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 return from your graveyard to the battlefield any number of target creatures that each have a different converted mana cost of X or less. I like that just because we can refill our grave, and it's also a land. That's like the nice thing. So it's a land that can untapped, and we can pay 3 life for it, which is awesome. Or it's just a big X spell late game. So early game, it's great. We can just whip it out. Late game, we just reanimate our grave. Ancient Cravings is a 1 black sorcery that just says draw 3 cards and lose 3 life. It's great. It's like, that's like the nice thing about this deck, is you gain so much value because we're losing life, which is great to make our spells cost cheap. And then we're just drawing cards anyways. We have Banefire. I love Banefire. It deals X damage to any target. If X is 5 or more, the spell can't be countered and the damage can't be prevented. The beautiful thing about, like, this is like kind of the big idea with this deck is you're like, you know what, with Rowan, I think I will pay like 30 life to Doom Whisperer or Blood Celebrant or whatever, and then I'm just gonna zap someone for 30. Like, that's the goal. So it's kind of like we're taking you out with us. Crackle with Power is really cool. just because we can, like, assuming we have 10, right? That means 3 is going to go into each X. So it's basically we are going to deal 5 times 3 damage to up to 3 targets. So we're going to deal 15 damage to whatever. Crackle with Power is cool. Damnable Pack is kind of interesting. I like it because we can either really hurt our opponents or we can kind of help ourselves. So ideally, it's kind of just like, honestly, another Banefire if you look at it. You're just like, oh yeah, Damnable Pact. Like a bunch of like 30 mana into it. You're going to draw 30 cards and lose 30 life. Or we could even just do it to us to an extent and just be like, yeah, because we don't have to use the full 30. We can just be like, yeah, I think I will draw like 5 cards and like lose 5 life. Like, refill the hand. It's nice. Dark Petition is a cool card I like because it's basically 2 mana, and then we search our library for a card and put it into our hand. And then if there are 2 or more instants or sorceries in our graveyard, we actually get 3 black mana back. So it's actually like, if we have this Spell Mastery, it's basically a tutor that nets us 1 mana. Like, it's kind of cool. Demonic Tutor, it's a 1 mana tutor that just search our library for a card, put it into our hand. That's how we're going to look for Banefire or whatever. Devil's Plate is basically just Bane. It's Banefire that's not uncounterable and unpreventable. Just deal X damage to any target, and then we can flash it back later, so we can kind of go for a double kill. Exsanguinate is, this is like a great card for this deck. It's just X mana, each opponent loses X life, you gain life equal to the life lost this way. So this is one of those beautiful examples where this is a card we will almost always go all in on. I will 1,000,000% be like, I'm going to use whatever cards I have, I'm going to pay like 35 life, and I'm going to drain everyone for 30, I'm going to drain everyone for 35, and then I'm going to gain, assuming a pod backs that's 70, I'm going to gain like 125 if my math is good, which it probably isn't. Still, like, you're going to gain a lot of life off that. Finale of Eternity is just really cool, just because the finales are both really cool, just because we just have so much, like, cost reduction, it just doesn't matter. So we're going to destroy the 3 creatures, just get rid of them, and then if X is 10 or more, which it pretty much will be, return all creature cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's just another big reanimate that's also a kill spell. Finale of Promise is cool because it says you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery, up to 1 target instant card and or up to 1 sorcery card from our graveyard with converted mana cost X or less without paying their mana cost. So that's nice to get like our tutors and stuff. And then if a card this way would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile it. If X is 10 or more, copy each of those spells twice. So we really can double up on tutors, we can double up on just removal, we can double up on like a bunch of stuff. I like it, I think it's cool. Night's Whisper, it's just 1 mana, draw 2 cards, lose 2 life. It's really nice with like Rowan because even if we don't want to tap her yet, like whatever, we just be like, oh yeah, I think we'll just pay 2 mana, and then we'll get that 2 mana back essentially through the life loss, and then we'll draw 2 cards to fill our hand. It's nice. Porphyros's Intervention, I think, is pretty cool. We can either just kill a creature or planeswalker, not really a big deal. Actually, I guess it can be a big deal. But the reason I like this card is I basically look at it as kind of a Banefire, just to be, yeah, I'm going to make an X1 with Trample and Haste, and I'm going to attack you. So I think I'll swing at you with this 31-1, whatever, with Trample and Haste. Like, block it if you want. It doesn't really matter. It's nice. I think it's cool. Rakdos' Return is kind of a brutal card. It's just, target player basically takes X damage, and then they discard their whole hand. So, again, we're just zapping someone for a ton, and then they lose their whole hand. Shatter Skull Smashing, again, one of those big X spells that's also a land that lets us pay 3 life to have it enter untapped. It deals X damage divided among up to 2 target creatures or planeswalkers, and then if X is 6 or more, it deals twice that damage. It's nice just to be able to, it's just basically a kill spell. It's just kind of like, why even have like, Lightning Bolt when you can just, I don't know, straight up zap things. Tendrils of Agony is a card I really like. It has Storm. Target player loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. Storm for my newer players is whenever you cast a spell, copy it for each spell cast this turn. You may choose new targets for the copies. So if we cast 5 other cards this turn, we're going to get 5 extra copies of Tendril of Agony. So instead of just, like those copies, so I guess we'd have 6 on the stack because it includes itself. No, it doesn't matter. it's basically going to copy itself a lot. Target player loses 2 life and we gain 2 life. The thing with Rowan is, since she says it's a sorcery, we're basically playing solitaire. That's kind of how we have to look at it. We can really only play on our turn, and we're going to be playing solitaire ideally every turn. And Tendrils is not only a kill, but it also refuels us, because we don't have a ton of easy ways to kill everyone all at once. And then finally, Torment's Veilfire, actually an easy way to kill everyone all at once. So if we have X30, which I just like that number, X30 is a great number, repeat the following process 3 times. Each opponent loses 3 life unless that player sacrifices a non-land permanent or discards a card, which is nice because they're either going to just take 90, which I can tell you they can't. They're going to lose their board. They're going to lose 30 non-land permanents. They only have so many cards in their hand they can discard, unless they have like no max hand size. But either way, we're either dumping everyone's hand, we're either getting basically board wiping, essentially psych rifting not even psych rift, you're just getting rid of stuff, or they're just dying, which is great. And we do that 30 times. Going into instants, Ad Nauseam is kind of nice. It's just a way to fill our hand and then also lose a bunch of life. 5 mana is pretty steep, but reveal the top card of your library and put the cards into your hand. You lose life equal to its converted mana cost. You may repeat this process any number of times. So we basically, it's kind of like a gamble, pretty much. We just reveal the top card of our deck, put it into our hand. If it's like a 5-drop, we lose 5 life. If we choose to do it again and it's land, we lose no life. If we do it again, like, we just lose life equal to the top card of our library. We draw it, pretty much. Fills our hand, loses life. Comet Storm is great because it has multi-kicker and it's an X spell. This is actually like one of the ways we can just straight up kill everyone. Choose target creature or player, then choose another target creature or player for each time it was kicked. It deals X damage to each of them. This is one of those spells where it's just like, yep, X is 30, we'll pay for the multi-kicker. Everyone but us takes 30. It's just a kill spell. Electro Dominance is a card I think it's great. I think it's underused. It deals X damage to any target. You may cast this card with, you may cast a card with converted mana cost X or less from our hand without paying our mana cost. So it's nice just to be able to be like, all right, I'm going to zap you for 30, and then also I'll play like Keurig for free, or I'll play Runescar Demon for free. It's just kind of it's like a nice 2-for-1. Erebos' Intervention. It's just a 1x spell. Who cares about graveyards? Target creature gets -X, and you gain X life. So we can basically just look at someone's commander and be like, yep, that thing's -30. We're going to gain a bunch of life out of that, and then we're just going to continue the process. Fire Covenant's cool. It's 3 mana. I love the archive secret lair for it because it made this card like legible and understandable. As an additional cost of the spell, pay X life, which is nice when we're able to pick. It deals X damage divided among creatures and any number of creatures, or any number of target creatures. It's basically a board wipe, and since it's 3 mana, we like a nice way to deal with this card is just pay the 3 mana, lose like all of our life, and then just tap Rowan, and now we have like mana set up for Erebos' Intervention to gain it all back and do all that fun stuff. Malakir Rebirth, it's just kind of one of those things where when our whole deck revolves around Rowan not being around is not good for us. So if someone kills Rowan, you just lose 2 life until end of turn this creature gains. When this creature dies, return it to the battlefield tapped. So it's kind of like a little psych almost. And we lose 2 life, which could be good or bad. I guess in that situation, since Rowan's gone or we'll not be able to use it, it's bad. But who cares? Our creature's not dying. And it's also a land that enters tapped. Finally, we have March of Wretched Sorrow. As an additional cost to the spell, you may exile any number of black cards from our hand, and then it costs 2 less for each card exiled this way. Not really relevant. What really is relevant is that it deals X damage to target creature or planeswalker, and we gain X life. I wish it hit players, but it's just kind of Rakdos life gain, and the fact that it's an X spell and we can just beam a creature for 30 is a big deal. So we can gain 30. Going into artifacts. Aetherflux, whenever we cast a spell, gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. It's basically just to be able to keep us afloat. Because the scary thing about paying 30 life or 35 life is you're now at 10. or you're like, that's the kind of thing, and we don't want to be able to just die right away. But the fact that we're essentially just playing solitaire is nice, and then we can pay 50 life to basically just kill someone. Arcane Signet, it's just a mana rock. We have Bolas's Citadel. You may look at the top card of your library at any time. You may play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. If you cast a spell this way, pay life equal to its mana value rather than its mana cost, and then we can sacrifice 10 non-land permanents, and each opponent loses 10. I like this card and I don't like it, at least in this deck. The thing that I like about it is that we can play lands and then we can lose life to cast spells like Arcane Signet and Aetherflux Reservoir or whatever, just because Rowan only affects black or red spells. Bolas's Citadel lets us cast our artifacts for free and we lose life in the process, which is nice. Or even if we don't have the artifacts for free, like even if it's just like, oh yeah, we have like a Runescar Demon on top of our deck, like we can then just pay the 7 life, play Runescar Demon, and then just tap Rowan and have that 7 mana there anyways. But yeah, but the thing I don't like about it is that any X spells will not have a cost. It's just that. Cosmos Elixir is nice. Just at the beginning of a end step, draw a card if your life total is greater than your starting life total. Otherwise, gain 2 life. This card's not bad. It's just not great. But we're in Rakdos, so it is what it is. Gilded Lotus is just in here just because we need the colors. It's just like the more colors we can get, the better, honestly. That's just how I look at it. Lightning Greaves, it's pretty much a must in this deck just because it makes Rowan untargetable and it gives her haste so we can tap her right away. The thing that's important about it is it has an equip cost of 0, which means that if we play Rowan and then Rowan dies, we won't have to spend any mana putting it on her. We can just lose the life right away and then tap her. Rakdos Signet, it's just a Signet, it's just more mana. It's nice to be able to just filter colors. Soul Ring is Soul Ring, that's pretty much it. Swiftfoot Boots is just, in my opinion, for this deck, worse Lightning Greaves. It's just because that's an equip cost of 1 rather than just free. And we don't really have any interaction with Rowan. Well, we have like 1 or 2 things of interaction with Rowan, which might be relevant. Tablet of the Guilds, when it enters the battlefield, choose 2 colors. I think we'll say black and red. Whenever you cast a spell, if it has at least one of the chosen colors, you gain 1 life for each of the chosen colors. It's fine. It's just a quick 2 mana, like, oh, we'll play like Rowan, we'll gain 2 life on. It's just, we'll just gain like 1 or 2 life from each of our spells, which I think is nice. Talisman, it's Talisman, and it also can hurt us, which is nice. The One Ring I think is actually really cool in this deck. You know, it enters the battlefield, you gain protection from everything, yada yada, cool. But the cool thing about it is, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 1 life for each burden counter on it, and then we can tap it to put a burden counter on it. So, I know it sounds silly, but, I mean, this card's obviously good because you gain protection from everything and you're safe for a turn. But the cool thing is we can just, like, have an active way to lose life on our turn. So, I don't even think it would be out of the question to say, like, start a turn, all right, like, turn 4, we play the One Ring, we tap it, we draw a card, right? We go to our upkeep. Before that triggers, we tap it again to put a burden counter on it, so then we lose 2 life. And then we draw 2 cards. So now we're already at, like, life lost, and then the next turn we'll lose 3 life. So we're getting, like, we're just passively losing life on our upkeep for no cost, because a lot of it has, like, a cost. 1,000-Year Elixir. You may play the activated abilities of creatures you control as though they had haste. That basically just means you can tap a creature if it doesn't have haste when it comes into play. But you can pay 1 mana to tap it to untap target creature. I think this card's important just because sometimes it's going to be a little bit awkward tapping Rowan for like 4 just because like you might have to. And then like because I imagine like, okay, here's a good scenario. We have like, let's say we have 4 mana, right? We don't have enough to cast Doom Whisperer, right? But we do have the ability to lose like 4 life and then play Doom Whisperer, and then we basically have infinite life lost because of Doom Whisperer. Now we can pay mana to untap Rowan to tap it again to reset the amount of life we have lost. So it'll start reducing more. Actually, I don't know if that's relevant. I think it's just, I don't know, I have to look into that, because it might just actually be, it totals it. I don't know. Either way, we can untap her. Or either way, we can tap Rosacea of Haste. I don't know if it stacks throughout it, the turn, if it's like, okay, I lost 1 life now, or if it's, I lost 5 life, therefore my things cost 5 less, or if it's, I lost 5 life, I lost 5 life, I tap it, and then I lose 6 more life, now my things cost 11 less. I don't know. Thran Dynamo, it's that awkward thing where Thran Dynamo is okay, but here's the thing. If our game plan of, of Rowan not working, if Rowan doesn't work, we are essentially a big mana deck. Thran Dynamo and the other mana rocks are going to help with that. Like, if for some reason, like, Oubliette comes down and we now can no longer tap Rowan, we need a way to cast our big stuff. Yeah. Venser's Journal, we have no max hand size, and at the beginning of our upkeep, you gain 1 life for each card in your hand. We are not a great, there's not many great life gain options in Rakdos, I don't believe. So we're doing the best with what we can. And then finally, Whip of Erebos, just creatures you control have lifelink, and then you can pay 4 mana to return a creature card from our graveyard to the battlefield, give it haste, and then it's exiled. And you can only do it as a sorcery, which is nice if we just need to gain like a little bit of life in a pinch. Going to enchantments, I like Black Market Connections because every turn it can lose a 6 life if we're really feeling zesty, which will get us a treasure, draw us a card, and make a 3/2. Or we can just kind of do what we need. Usually in regular games of Commander, not even including Rowan, it's just, I like just being able to have an extra mana and an extra card on my turn for 3 life. I think it's fine. Font of Agonies is interesting because whenever you pay life, put that many blood counters on Font of Agonies. Pay 1 and a black, remove 4 counters from Font of Agonies, destroy target creature. So let's look at greed for a second. It is pay a black, pay 2 life, draw a card. That's going to put 2 counters on Font of Agonies, and then we're going to probably do it again, right? So it's like we now have 4 counters. Now we just basically always have a kill spell on board for 2 mana, which I think is nice. But greed is good. It says pay a black, pay 2 life, draw a card. We draw cards, and we get 2 life out of it. So that's nice. Or we lose 2 life out of it, which is nice. Hunger of the HM1, it's really exquisite blood. Whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. That's kind of the whole goal of the deck anyway. Like, this is like the dream, is like, yeah, we have Banefire, we'll Banefire someone for like 30, they lose 30, we'll gain 30, cool. Even more simple as just like, hey, opponent B is attacking opponent A, and now like we'll gain like life from the damage they lost. It's a good card. Necropotence, I prefer Necropotence. I know it's wrong, but I like Necropotence, so we're going to go with that. Necropotence says skip your draw phase. Whenever you discard a card, just exile it, and then pay a life. Set aside the top card of your library, put that card into your hand at the beginning of your discard phase. The way you could really read this card in this deck, I mean, it's the good card draw anyways at the end of turn, but the way you can really read it is you can pay 1 life as many times as you want for no cost. Phyrexian Reclamation, 1 mana, great rate. Pay 2 life. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. I like it. We lose life out of it, and we get our creatures back. And then finally, we have Sanguine Bond. Sanguine Bond goes infinite with Exquisite Blood, because Exquisite Blood is whenever an opponent loses life, you gain that much life. Sanguine Bond says whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. So it's nice when we have things like March of Wretched Sorrow and Erebos' Intervention, where we gain that much life. It still hurts our opponents, which is nice. Going into lands, it's nothing too crazy. We have Ancient Tomb, which will deal 2 damage to us and give us 2 mana, which is great. We have Blood Crypt, which will deal 2 damage to us, which is great. It's actually paying life. So Rowan really only, let me mention that. Rowan really only cares about life lost, regardless if it's damage or paying life. There are some cards like Font of Agonies that care about paying life. So Blood Crypt, you'll pay 2 life and it'll put 2 counters on Font of Agonies, but Ancient Tomb deals 2 damage to you, so you do not put counters on Font of Agonies. Command Tower, it's Command Tower, it's just an untapped tool. Dragon Skull Summit, we are 2-color deck, we're always going to have a swamp or a mountain. It's nice. Hall of the Bandit Lord, I think is a cute little combo. It enters play tapped, but then we can pay 3 life and tap it to add 1 mana to the mana pool, and then if that mana is spent on a creature, it gains haste. So I think it's cool, because if we go turn 1 swamp, or I guess it would really be turn 1 this, turn 2 swamp, turn 3 mountain, 3 mana, pay 3 life, cast what's her face, Rowan, and now we already lost 3 life, so now we can tap her right away and have our spells cost 3 less right off the bat. I think she's really cool. It's really cool. Haunted Ridge, this is going to enter untapped because, like, it's fine. Luxury Suite's going to enter untapped because assuming we're playing in a pod of 4 people, 3 opponents, it's going to enter untapped. Mount Doom, I think, is really cool because we can pay 1 life to add red or black, so it's nice to be able to pay life. We can pay 3 mana to make it deal 1 damage to each opponent, and then we can pay 7 mana, sacrifice it, and a legendary artifact, which I'll go back, but I'm pretty sure it's just the One Ring is our only legendary artifact. Choose up to 2 creatures, then destroy the rest and activate as a sorcery. I don't think that part's really relevant. It's a land that lets us pay life every turn, which is nice. Reliquary Tower, we have no max hand size. We do have a good amount of card draw in the deck, so that's why I think it's necessary. And then finally, we have Smoldering Marsh, just because we have so many basics. And War Room is nice because we can pay 3 mana and then 2 life to draw a card, which is cool. And then we have 13 swamps and 10 mountains because we're just a 2-color deck and we don't really need a ton of crazy lands. Like, you can always go nuts with it, but I just don't really think the deck needs it. Miscellaneous stuff. Today is September 5th, 2023. The deck cost $515. I imagine it's going to go down. They pretty much always go down. The average CMC of the deck is 3.26, which isn't really accurate because of all the X spells we have and the fact that Rowan's a cost reducer. So I guess the cards themselves cost that, but realistically, it's really not that. It's going to be a lot lower. We run 34 lands, and it's 37 including the MDFCs, which are it basically just means the cards with the backside, the flip cards. Thank you guys for watching. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and then tell me what deck you want to see next. Thank you guys so much, and I'll see you next time.